Hello friends, welcome to lecture series on computer proficiency test, that is CPT for SSC CGL exam, presented by W. Now we are in the third lecture where we'll be talking about the most common doubts. So in the last lecture we have talked about errors and cutoffs, that is we have looked at the two types of errors, that is full mistakes and half mistakes. We have seen how to compute total error and percentage error, and we have looked at the cutoffs for module 1, module 2 and module 3, and we have looked at how qualifying in module 1 is very important even for test related posts. Fine. So now let's get into the most common doubts which most of the candidates will have. So let's go one by one. First, what is a key or depression? Like if you have seen in the module 1, you will be given a passage with 2000 depressions. So what does a depression mean? So any press of a keyboard button is generally counted as a key or depression, like all alphabets, whether it's capital or small, and all numbers, all symbols, and especially spacebar is also counted as key or depression. But shift, backspace, delete, etc., which mainly do not print anything on screen, are not considered as key or depression. So whichever prints something on the screen, and especially spacebar, is also considered as key or depression. Fine. Now let's get into the next question. What if I do more than one type of error in the same word, right? So if you do one half mistake, it will be treated as half mistake. But if you do more than one half mistake in the same word, and how many other mistakes you do in the same word, it will be treated as only one full mistake and not more than that. So in one word, the maximum penalty is one full mistake. Fine. So now let's get into the next question. What software is used to conduct module 1, that is for typing? So the software is designed by SSC itself and it won't be available anywhere, and you'll have to take the exam in their software in their computer. Fine. So as you have seen in the first lecture, it would be like a blank white screen, and it's very similar to our WordPad or Notepad. So that's why we stress on that while practicing, use only WordPad or Notepad, not Microsoft Word. Fine, because this will very similarly be to the software which is given in the actual exam also. Fine. Now let's get into the next question. Will the mistakes be highlighted while typing? So the simple answer is no. The mistakes won't be highlighted during the actual exam while typing. So let's get into the next question. Is backspace allowed while typing? Can you correct the mistakes? So yes, while you're taking the exam, you can use backspace or delete any number of times, and SSC will not penalize you for that. You can correct any number of mistakes, but remember the only limitation is time. So while correcting all these mistakes, don't lose out your time and don't lose missing out few sentences, because that would be a big disaster, right? So you can correct the mistakes, but be very cautious about the time. Now let's get into the next question. Can I be penalized for other mistakes which are not provided in the list provided before, especially for typing? So in the last lecture, we have looked at various types of full mistakes and half mistakes. So can you be penalized for any other mistakes other than those which were provided in the list? So no, actually you can't be penalized for any other mistake other than those mistakes which you have given before, unless specifically mentioned by SSC in the instructions. Fine. So generally only those are the mistakes. Now let's get into the next question. What if I finish module 1 early? That is the typing test. See, the exam is designed in such a way that if you can type the entire passage given to you in that 15 minutes, then you qualify module 1, if you type it in good accuracy, of course. So that's as simple as it. Okay. So even if you finish early, it doesn't really matter. Instead, you should use that extra time in correcting those mistakes. You should go back, check what you have typed, try to identify those mistakes which you have made, and correct it in that extra time which you have, because finally accuracy is the major factor, right? If your percentage error is more than the cutoff, then you will be disqualified. So try to reduce your mistakes as much as possible in that extra time. Utilize it very wisely. And the most important thing, many people will have this question, that if you have extra time, can you retype the passage so that you would have typed more, so that your speed will be greater? So should you retype passage? No, actually you should not retype the passage if you have completed the passage provided by them, and it would also lead to negative marking. So just type what is given, and if you have extra time, utilize it to correct mistakes. Fine. Now let's get into the next question. What software is used to conduct module 2 and 3? So the Excel and PowerPoint tests will be in Microsoft Excel and Microsoft PowerPoint, but the version of the Microsoft Office can vary. It could be either 2007 or 2010 or 2013. But the interface of all three softwares are very similar. So if you learn on any one of these versions, that's more than enough. You can handle any other version very easily. Okay, so now let's get into the next question. I forgot to apply borders in Excel test. Will I still be qualified? See, just because you did not apply borders, you may not be disqualified, but you will lose marks. Ultimately, it's qualifying thing is the marks, right? You should get the minimum cutoff marks. So if you forget to apply borders, you don't get marks which were allotted to them. But it's always good to apply borders. Don't forget the small things, because you don't know where you will be losing marks, right? You might be making some unknown mistakes. So that's it. Let's get into the next question. Should I qualify in all three modules? Of course, yes. First, you need to qualify in module 1, only then module 2 and 3 will be evaluated. And if you qualify the cutoff in module 2 and 3, only then you will be qualifying for the entire CPT, right? So you should qualify in all the three modules. And next, will the marks be used for final merit evaluation? So as we have discussed in the first lecture itself, this is a qualifying exam. So marks in CPT will not be counted and considered for final merit list, but if you don't qualify this, you don't get even considered for final merit list. You should qualify this, but the marks won't be considered. Fine. Let's get into the next question. What if I do not qualify in CPT? See, you would have really worked hard in tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and you have come to this stage, and if you do not qualify in CPT, you will not be considered for posts that require CPT at all. And most importantly, if you do not qualify in module 1 of CPT, then you will not be considered for the post that requires both CPT and DEST. You will be considered only for AAO and junior statistical officer posts. So that would drastically reduce your chance of getting a good job, right? So it's very important that you don't neglect CPT and do well in the CPT. Second, what if I do not qualify in module 1? So as we have discussed in the last question itself, if you do not qualify in module 1, then you will be disqualified for CPT and DEST related posts as well. And also your module 2 and module 3 won't be evaluated if you don't qualify in module 1. Okay, let's get into the next question. I was called only for CPT and not for DEST, so am I not eligible for posts that require DEST? So the candidates who are called for CPT will not be called for DEST separately. Rather, their module 1 of CPT will be taken for evaluating their performance against DEST. So based on your performance in module 1, if you get qualified, then you will be qualified for DEST related posts as well. You won't be called separately. Okay, let's get into the next question. If I don't attend CPT, will my candidature be cancelled? See, if you don't attend CPT, it's as good as you have been disqualified for CPT. And remember that CPT module 1 is also considered for posts that require DEST, as we have seen in last few questions. But if you don't attend CPT, your candidature won't be cancelled, but you will be considered for AAO and junior statistical officer posts. Fine. Let's get into the next question. Can I change my post preference? Yes, you can actually change your post preference again during the document verification stage. Fine. Let's get into the next question. What type of keyboard will be given during the test? See, one thing which you have to remember is the keyboard is center specific. So all centers may not have good equipment. Some centers will have different keyboards. So you might get any keyboard, but it's always better to practice on standard keyboards. No one can say which keyboard you will get, but it will be one of a very standard keyboard generally. Okay, so better practice on standard keyboards. You can get the list of recommended keyboards in the next lecture. Fine. Now next question. My printer setup wasn't done properly. What should I do? See, this is really important because many students did not have idea that they should set up their printer. We don't know whether really SSC want us to set a printer, but it's not done in many of the centers, and it's your responsibility finally to get a good printout. So it's always good for you to learn how to set printer settings, which will be taken care in the next few lectures. And only if you set the margins and paper size properly, you will get a good print. Otherwise you might lose marks if the paper is not printed properly, and you can't even really ask anyone later, right? Fine. So it's really important to know how to set your printer settings, and please don't forget before taking a printout of this. This is really important, and this is a very common problem. Okay, now let's get into the next question. What type of functions are required for Excel test? Will questions also involve drawing charts? Yes, you might be asked some basic charts in Excel test. It's not very common. Everyone may not get it, but few people were asked to draw basic charts in Excel test. And do not worry, all the tools, functions and charts which are required for the exam have been detailedly discussed in lecture 6. You can have a look and we'll quickly revise all the tools which are required. Fine. What type of tools are required for PowerPoint exam? Again, this we have made a special lecture on lecture 7 to get the exact list of tools and other things that are required for the exam. Maybe you can watch this and get a good idea of what all are required, but you have to know all the basic things. SSC put this exam so that you should be able to make those basic presentation slides, right? Now the next one, how should I master typing, Excel and PowerPoint? See, for typing, remember that you just need to qualify this test. You need not be a professional typer. So if you have a decent typing speed, that's enough to qualify this test. Although it's not really difficult to learn typing, but you can't do it in one night, right? You have to put some good practice, especially to learn typing. And similar with Excel and PowerPoint also, it's not so easy to learn it in one night. And we have given a detailed description on how to learn and practice Excel and PowerPoint in the next few lectures. Maybe by following them, we may not guarantee that you will master these tools, because that's not the intention of this, but you will get that confidence that you can succeed in this test. As I told you, that's what this lectures are for. Fine. So these are all the most common doubts which we could cover in this lecture. If you have any other doubts, always put them in the comment section below. And in the next lecture, we'll talk about the best strategy to crack module 1, that is word processing test. Fine. So that's it for this lecture. Thank you so much for being with me in this lecture. If you like the video, please do like it so that it will let us know that you loved our efforts, and please do share it with your friends so that your friends will also get to know about these videos. And please do subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss on any of our future videos. We are coming up with many new videos, so for you to not to miss them, please subscribe to this channel. And thank you so much and have a nice day.